All right. Hey, Hootie, I am so glad you're joining us for our second interview about just recruiting about of college athletes and NCAA athletes. We're just going to kind of walk through your recruiting experience and your story there, and just kind of get some tips of what was beneficial, what maybe you would have changed at the time. But I'll let you go ahead and kind of introduce yourself, where you're from, what school you went to, all that good stuff.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. So I am Houry Gebeshian. I'm the co-owner of Full Out Collegiate Recruiting. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. My home gym was Massachusetts Gymnastics Center in Waltham. And I got recruited to the University of Iowa on a full athletic scholarship, and competed there as an all-arounder for all 4 years.
Nice. And what years were you there? Do you remember that far back?
Yes, I was there from 2007 to 2011.
Nice. Awesome. So let's jump right in. When did you start the recruiting process? What grade, what year?
So recruiting was a little bit different when I did it about 15 years ago. But I started the recruiting process as a second year level 10, after competing my second year of JO Nationals as a junior. I started then and then kind of jumped right in.
Nice. So did you kind of take that on by yourself, or did a coach, walk you through it, or, who was involved in that process?
Luckily for me, I had an amazing mentor, an amazing coach at my club gym who kind of took me under his wing and organized a plan of action for me, and helped me with all of the communicating and things that I needed to do. So luckily I had somebody walk me through, and I wasn't the first gymnast from our gym to get recruited. It had been a couple of years. So we were a little bit rusty, but yeah, one of my coaches helped me out quite a bit to keep me organized and kind of tell me what to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a little stressful then. So that's nice. So when did you actually commit or sign with Iowa?
I committed my senior year. I think it was around October. I verbally committed, and then I signed my national letter of intent in November during the signing period. Mm-hmm.
And were you able to go? I'm assuming you were able to, make an official visit and do all of that. Was Iowa kind of your main contender the whole time, or what did that look like?
Actually, Iowa popped in right at the end of my recruiting journey, which was lucky, super lucky. I went on all 5 of my official visits during my senior year of high school. And I had to decide between 2 schools because I only had one more visit left. And it was between Iowa and Denver, actually. And through discussions with the coaches and the major, they had the major I was looking for, and all the pieces kind of fit together. So I decided to go to Iowa as my last official visit. And then luckily I did, because they offered and I accepted.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's cool. Were your coaches kind of a big part in helping you decide that, or was that more your parent? How did you make that decision between your last 2, Iowa and Denver?
That actually was more on me, I think. I think deciding which schools I went on my visits to, and figuring out which ones were my top schools, and all of that stuff. That was a lot on me, because at the end of the day, I was the one that was going to be going to school. I was, and I, my parents and my coaches, gave me a lot of independence to do that. They helped me along the way to make sure I was doing all the right things. But as far as making the decisions, I was kind of in charge of that. So it was.
Oh, that's good.
Scary.
It's a lot. I know. You don't think about it, but when you're 17 and 18 years old,
I
That's a
know. How
lot
do
of
people
decisions.
do that? That's crazy.
But I know, I don't know why they think I'm responsible enough at that age. But anyway, we did. So what was kind of your favorite part of that whole process?
The
Or what,
recruiting
is there,
process?
yeah, or is there something you are really happy you had to do or learn from and something like that? Or did you just hate all of it?
I would not say I enjoyed the recruiting process very much.
That's fair.
And I don't know if very many people do. Just it's a lot of hard work. It's exhausting. But I think the best part of the recruiting journey is finally finding your home, and feeling like all of that hard work you put into finding that right home kind of pays off.
Yeah.
So it was rewarding in the end, but the
Yeah.
2 years leading up to it was
Yeah. Your favorite
challenging.
part was being done.
Yeah. Yes.
That's fair. That's a part of it. So that's fine. So what do you think is something to be really mindful of, or what is the most important thing to be aware of when you're going through that process?
I think the most important thing is to remember that every interaction is a professional interaction.
Yeah.
Um, I, looking back now, I remember some of the like college visits that I went on, or some of the visits that coaches came to my gym,
Yeah.
or even some of the phone calls that just could have been a little bit more professional. And I always wonder, if I had done something differently, would they have chosen me versus somebody else?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I definitely know that putting your best foot forward and being professional, at the same time as being able to show them who you are, is super, super important.
Yeah. No, I agree. And again, kind of like we talked about, that's hard, hard line to know when you're a teenager, you're still a kid, you haven't talked to many adults in that way, and especially for a female athlete, talking with male coaches and that kind of thing, it's a big change and something you kind
It,
of have to get used to, I guess.
yeah, it's
So
scary putting yourself out there. It's scary knowing what to say. It's scary not knowing what they want from you, trying
yeah.
to be authentic, but also, being professional. It's a very fine line that takes some
Yeah.
practice for sure.
Yes.
That I wish I would have practiced a little bit more before going on those trips or taking those
Yeah.
phone calls, or, all of that. I had wonderful coaches that told me what I needed to do, but not necessarily anybody coaching me on how to do it. So
Yeah. No, yeah, that's definitely hard. And it's so hard too, because every coach that you speak with is going to be different and want something different from each athlete. And, so it's just, you kind of have to, like you said, practice and no, be authentic and just hope for the best a little bit.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
um,
it's all about finding that right piece, right? It's a puzzle.
yep.
So
Yeah.
as long as you're your authentic self, and expressing who you are in a professional and respectful manner, finding the right fit will come easily for the ones that bite.
Yep.
Think coaches or whoever that's not interested or not meshing with you, you'll know that right away with your
Yep.
conversations. So I don't know.
Absolutely.
It was
Yeah.
I definitely wish I would have known that's how it goes, back in the day, because you're
Yeah.
so nervous, like, do they like me, do they not like me, and at the end of the day,
Yeah.
not everybody's gonna like you.
That's true. Well, I mean, speak for yourself, but I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, and you have to be
Yeah,
okay with that. You have to be
right.
okay with, I might get the answer no, and that's fine. Like that's not gonna, you know, break my life, and I'm gonna be able to move forward, and that's fine. But just kind of preparing yourself for all these different outcomes is a little daunting sometimes.
Yeah. And sometimes you need
Yeah.
to hear the no's in order to
Yeah.
figure out the yeses.
Yeah.
And that's something I was deathly afraid of somebody rejecting me and saying no, because nobody wants to be
No.
rejected.
No. Yeah. No one likes to hear no, and it's
Nobody
just
likes to hear
that's
no, but it
yeah.
helps you figure out where the right place is. And so once I learned that, of course, the hard way, I got some no's. I was eventually able to find the right one.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So obviously there are a ton of very qualified and talented athletes in, club and JOs and even in the elite world, obviously, that are looking for a place in college gymnastics. But it's hard. Why do you think it's so hard for some athletes to get noticed, even though, they're very well qualified, they are well trained, and, they know their stuff, they're smart, their academics are on point. What can kind of be some of those barriers, do you think, to getting
Uh,
a spot on a team?
yeah, I think the biggest challenge for girls to get on a college team is knowing how to present themselves in an effective and professional manner consistently. And I think that's the missing piece. We have so much happening at our fingertips on our cell phones, in our emails, and being one of the thousand is really hard, especially if you aren't showing why you are the unique one out of the thousands out there. So I think that's the hardest part is figuring out how to show people out there that you want to notice you, that you are unique and you have all of the great qualities that they need. It's on you as the athlete to show those great qualities, and nobody's going to do it for you. So
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest challenge most athletes are facing.
absolutely. Absolutely. So this is a more fun question. What is your favorite memory or something that you really enjoyed about your time as a collegiate gymnast?
My favorite memory. I mean, there's so many fun times we had traveling around, competing. The greatest thing I think of being on my college gymnastics team is that now 15 years later, 10, 15, I don't even know how long it's been, but 15 years later, my college teammates are still my best friends. We meet up every year for a wedding or a baby shower or something, and it's like we're back in college and we never left. So I think that's my favorite thing about being a college athlete and a college gymnast, a part of a team. They instantly became my family and they instantly became my friends. And so I love that. But my favorite memory of being on that team, let's see. I think our biggest accomplishment as a team was winning, or not winning, backtrack. Favorite memory. My favorite memory being on the Iowa Gymnastics team, I think, was when we placed third in the Big Ten at Big Ten championships my junior year of college. That same year, I became Big Ten champion on balance beam, and it was probably our best year. Our team was super cohesive. Like, we just had a really, really fun time, and I just remember that whole year being a phenomenal year, not just inside the gym, but outside as a team, and just really having a good time. So that's probably my favorite memory. But I love that we're all still friends and can enjoy our time
Yeah,
together.
no, that's awesome. Kind of along those lines, we'll backtrack a little bit. Um, what really drew you to Iowa? What stood out to you when you went on your visit? What made you think like, oh man, this is where I want to be?
Um, I was really looking for a place where I could study what I wanted to study, as well as do gymnastics. And actually, that wasn't something that I pressed very aggressively when talking to college coaches before taking some of my visits. So I actually wasted a few of my first visits getting on campus and learning, oh, I can't actually do the major that I want.
Okay.
So this is silly. So then when I was talking to Iowa, I spoke to them about really wanting to be an athletic training major. And they were like, we will support you in whatever you want to do. We can accommodate your schedule. Where we work pretty well with each one of our team members to have them succeed, not just in gymnastics, but in their future. That was really important to them. And that seemed really important to me after I learned that it actually was important to do something outside of gymnastics in college. So once I learned that, I was like, okay, yes, Iowa became kind of one of my top schools. I got on campus, I met the team. I had a really great time just hanging out with the girls. I really liked the coaches that were there, and it felt good. I think you hear a lot of the times like it just felt like home, and it really did. So luckily, it worked out that they liked me too, and I ended up going there. But my family actually thought I was crazy because I grew up in Boston. And I ended up in Iowa, and they were like, "What is in Iowa?" And I was like, "This is the best place for me. So trust me in that." And they did.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I know it's really hard, I think, especially now as just facilities and athletic facilities and that kind of stuff really get built up. And there are some nice gyms out there and, just amenities for athletes. I think it's really easy to kind of, as a recruit, get caught up in all of that. Because who doesn't want to train in a nice gym? Like, come on. But there's so much more to your college experience than training on new equipment or in a new gym or whatever. So I think it's just really important to be aware of, like you said, the team and the coaches and just the people that you're going to interact with every day are much more important than, the beam that you're going to be doing a back handspring on. That's 100%. Not true. Everyone has a favorite beam. That's not true.
That is actually, growing up at my home gym, we had a Spieth red beam, and I always wanted to be on that Spieth beam, and everybody hated it, but I loved it. And so I can vouch for that. Everybody has a favorite beam.
I do. Mine was the second one from the front, so I still remember it. Like it was yesterday. But yeah, so anyway. Last question really quick. I know we've chatted a lot about this already, but do you have any other, words of wisdom or just any advice for future and current recruits that are going through or about to go through this process?
Yeah. I've got lots of advice.
Yes.
First things first is know what you want. Know what you're looking for, and don't be afraid to ask for it. I didn't figure out what it was that I wanted until after going to a couple of schools, after talking to a bunch of coaches, and then learning, oh, this is actually the major I want to go into. Oh, this is actually what I wanted to contribute to a college team. Knowing all of those things before getting on the phone or before going on my visits would have saved me and college coaches a lot of time. So I think my number one advice is to do your research, know what you want before kind of jumping into the whole thing, because you'll feel 1,000 times more prepared and hopefully not as scared starting with the process.
Yeah, and with the internet, I mean, it's a scary place, but it's also helpful. I mean, you can, especially with like looking up programs and majors and all of those things, that is so easy. You could find that in 5 minutes on any college website. And that is really going to could potentially narrow your search and your list of schools down dramatically. If, kind of like you went through, they didn't have your major. So obviously that wasn't going to be a good fit.
Right.
So yeah, it's amazing what, 20 to 30 minutes on a school's website would do for you, and just kind of giving you an idea of, oh, this might work for me, or, oh, this absolutely is not going to be my, home for the next 4 years. So yeah, I definitely think that's important.
Yeah. And like asking yourself those things too. So you know yourself. Some people might not know their major, but some people might know, hey, I really like being close to home. So we're not going to look somewhere where I have to take 2 planes and an all-day trip to get back home if I need to. So things like that are important to know before you go into that process.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat. And you have lots of good advice and lots of good words for these new guys and girls coming through the system. But
It's fun. I know I made it sound really scary and really challenging, but it is fun talking to all sorts of different people, traveling the country to go to different schools. All of that, it's part of the experience. And you do learn a lot, one, about yourself, but two, about just being a professional human out in the real world. It's definitely worth it to put the work in to find that home, because there's a place for everybody to do gymnastics in college. It just takes a little bit of effort to get there.
yeah, I agree. Well, thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll be chatting with you again soon.
Yeah.
But appreciate it and good luck in the future with all of your work and everything else you're doing.
With full out. Woohoo.
Full out, yes.
Did you want to talk about the Olympics?
We can. So I figured we can always pop that in if you wanted to or not. And I didn't know what Wendy would want to do. So, but yes, we can have that kind of as its own little blurb. And my dog just walked in, so I was trying to hold him so he stopped jingling. I was like,
how did
really?
my answers go?
No, I thought that was really good. I'm sorry if I made you talk a long time. But I think it was all really good information. And I like the fact that, you said you went on a few visits that basically didn't matter anymore because you didn't, they didn't have what you wanted. And I feel like it's easy to kind of just get caught up in all the excitement of like a college wanting you to come visit and all that stuff. It's easy to just like, yes, and not really doing your due diligence and making sure that it would be a viable option for you. Because in the end, it is a waste of time for you and them, and a waste of a visit. Because you had to drop a visit because of that. So I do think that was good. And not everyone's going to hear that experience. So no, I thought that was good. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, so I think we'll just kind of jump into, so you went to the Olympics.
So you
didn't make it really awkward. So I'm looking at your wall behind you, and
what's that leotard?
Oh, I might do
what's
that.
Poster?
Yeah. All right, ready?
There is a college picture up there.
I see that one too. I like that little montage.
That was our senior, I think. Yeah, that was our senior gift.
Senior gift. Nice. Yeah. I like that. That's a good picture of what I can see from when I creep during our meetings. Anyway, so back. That's my camera.
Got it.
Thing. I don't know what it's called. Stop it.
Sure.
Take two. Okay. Anyway, so you do have kind of a interesting story to your gymnastics career. You went to the Olympics, 2016 in Rio, but that was 5 years after, kind of retiring from college gymnastics. And I think that's a little bit different than most athletes, especially elite athletes. You think, oh, they're going to go to the Olympics first, and then that's kind of their retirement into, college is they're taking it easy and kind of leaving the elite world. But you did things a little backwards. So talk to us a little bit more about that, what that decision looked like to return to training and all of that.
So my college career was a great career. I had a great time competing for Iowa all 4 years as an all-arounder. We had successes as a team. I had my own personal successes, but I had the amazing opportunity to represent the Republic of Armenia as an individual at, the European world and hopefully Olympic stage. And so with that opportunity, I 100% kind of pounced on it. I mean, who wouldn't
Yeah.
take that opportunity and see where it goes. For me, the journey started right after college, trying to make it to the 2012 Olympic Games. And unfortunately, I got hurt, and it just wasn't in my cards to make it. I had the awesome support of the Iowa staff, so I was still training there, which was pretty fun. But I didn't make it. I moved on. I, went to PA school, graduated graduate school, and then decided, hey, I miss gymnastics. So I came back, trained, and eventually made it to the 2016 Olympic Games as a much more confident and, I would say, I don't know, professional athlete. I was able to use a lot of the things I learned from club, from college, from just graduate school itself to help my way to make it and compete at the Olympics. But yeah, all of those amazing things were stepping stones to get me to that final goal, which, like you said, was unorthodox and kind of a little bit backwards. But for me, it worked. And I think for people listening out there, it gives them a little bit of excitement and hope that there's always an option out there. There's always something that you can do as long as you put your mind to it and buckle down and work hard. You'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love that. And I, especially as more athletes are kind of coming back to gymnastics at a later age, or they're just staying in it longer.
Mm-hmm.
I just really enjoy watching them. They have a very different, I don't know if it's a confidence or just how they perform and how they carry themselves is noticeably different than the girls who are 16, 17, 18. And it should be different. There should be a difference. You are very different as a 16-year-old than you are as a 30-year-old. there's,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of life changes, a lot of things have happened. So obviously things should look a little bit different, but I don't know, I just love watching athletes either come back or continue in the sport. And it just shows that they have that commitment and a passion for it. And it's something they're doing it because they want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get any easier to stay in it or to come back. So really, if it's something that you really have to want to do to come back and be successful, especially at that high level. So I love that. And I think that's just very interesting. So
Yeah, it was a fun journey for sure. And I hope that it inspires people to know that there's lots of options out there. Everybody can do gymnastics in college. Who knows what's out there during college, after college? I mean, there's adult gymnastics out there now for whoever wants to do it. And some days I think about putting my grips back on, but I haven't quite yet.
You going for Paris? Is that what I hear?
Gosh, I wish. Put this leotard back on.
Yeah. You can get you a new one. It's fine. We can get a new one. We'll upgrade for you. But
yeah, my boyfriend would be very upset if I took it out of the case.
The box. Yeah, we'll leave that one there. We'll get you a new one. But yeah. So anyway, thank you for chatting about that. I think that's an important story. Important lessons can be learned from that. So thanks for sharing.